This is the Tysley incinerator. It's a very key part of infrastructure in Birmingham. But opposition councillors from the Conservatives and the Liberal Democrat groups on Birmingham City Council are having a go at the council because they are extending this incinerator's use. Now, these councillors say the city is being burdened with an expensive and polluting method of getting rid of waste because the council has failed to plan properly, and that it should have planned properly back in 2019, but it still failed to come up with a longer-term solution for getting rid of this incinerator. The Acox Green Councillor for the Liberal Democrats is Roger Harmer and is on the show now. Hi, Roger. How are you?
I'm well, Kath. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thanks for coming on. What's your main issue, then? To tell us about your main issue with the Tysley incinerator.
So, the fundamental point of it is that 4 years ago now, Birmingham City Council declared a climate emergency with cross-party support. And we agreed to aim to get to net zero carbon emissions as quickly as we could, ideally by 2030. And basically what that means is, to put it crudely, you have to find ways to stop burning stuff, whether that's petrol, gas, or indeed waste. And 4 years after that, we're just about to sign a contract, keep burning hundreds of thousands of tons of our waste for at least 10 years, and actually possibly 15. There's an extension clause for a further 5 years. And it really doesn't have to be like that. We can recycle vastly more than we do. We currently rank 330th out of 333 councils in terms of recycling performance, with just 22.8% of our waste recycled. And there are councils in this country, including Lib Dem run Three Rivers Council, which is at 63.5%, which is nearly 3 times as high. So we can do much, much better than we are here in Birmingham.
Right. But so you're saying we shouldn't be burning waste in this way. But, I mean, you can't just simply quickly change to a new... There's a huge piece of work that goes on around waste contracts for a city the size of Birmingham, over 60,000 households. And the council's looking at lots of different ways of dealing with this. And actually it is talking about in the future maybe coming up with different things. But you can't just stop this entirely, can you? What are you saying they should be doing?
No, you can't stop it. I mean, what we're saying we need to do is urgently and radically increase recycling. And that, of course, as you say, will take time. And that's what's so frustrating about, the last 5 years is basically wasted time. They essentially haven't done anything. And I think what's most aggravating is they came to Cabinet...
The council says that it's not an extension, it's a new contract, that they've looked at everything and they've come up... They've looked at all the different proposals and plans, and this was the best one. This is a new contract, really, for the incinerator for 10 years, because that's the way that's the way that we need to transition.
Well, let's look at one specific example. The biggest single element of our waste is food waste. 5 years ago, the Lib Dems put a proposal to the council to start recycling food waste. Lots and lots of other councils already do that. And yet what we're doing is we're waiting for the government to force us to recycle food waste before we do it. That. If you ask the council, why aren't we doing it? They say, well, we're going to wait till the council make us do it. And frankly, it's madness that we waste and burn over 100,000 tonnes of food each year, while thousands of our residents are actually relying on food banks each week.
But that's a different issue, though, isn't it? That might be an issue with... you're saying we're not being efficient enough in Birmingham with how we do it. But in terms of the actual incinerator, if that's the only proven cost-effective solution for the next X amount of years, then what would you have them do?
Well, at the very least, what we would like is them to have a detailed plan now about how they're going to transition to much, much higher levels of recycling. So, yeah, you're right. There's nothing we can do about having to keep the recycler burning, for several more years now. That's the shame of it. But we have to, while we're doing that, we have to actually crack on now with a whole series of measures to get our recycling rate, from the lowest to near the highest. And it's the failure to do that which is so incensing, because if we'd done that 5 years ago, we wouldn't have to be renewing the contract now.
It's a huge scale as well, this, isn't it? 8,800 tonnes of municipal waste collected in Birmingham each week. And you So you feel, and we've just said, you feel they should have done something differently 5 years ago. That's gone now. We're in where we're in.
Mm-hmm.
But are you saying you're not seeing any plans for the future? Because obviously I think the council will say, well, that's what we're going to work on now.
Well, they keep saying that, and they keep not doing it. And as I say, on the biggest single example, where the biggest single element of waste, food waste, they're just saying we're going to wait till the government make us do it. There are very easy ways. You could at least start a trial, which is what we asked for 5 years ago. Very low cost. There's spare capacity in the system. You could get on with that now, and they're just refusing to get on with it. So they're saying they are, but in what they're actually doing speaks of not being interested and just kicking the can down the road.
And I suppose when we're talking about making air quality better as well, and we charge certain vehicles to go into the city centre, you're concerned that this huge part of environmental health and consideration isn't top of the agenda.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting when you talk about waste. The flagship thing that the council like to talk about is the mobile household recycling centres. Now, they offer a good service to people in terms of being able to get rid of large items nearer to their home than having to go to the tip. But if you look at how much the mobile household recycling centres actually recycle, you might be rather surprised to know that it's less than 5%. Perhaps they should actually really be called mobile household incineration centres, because the vast majority of everything that's put on those centres is burnt. Whereas if you took the equivalent waste to a tip, much more of it would get recycled. So it sort of demonstrates that they're really not trying to address this, and they seem actually more obsessed about feeding the incinerator for at least another 10 years.
Councillor Roger Harmer, thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Liberal Democrat Councillor Roger Harmer on Birmingham City Council. Concerned there about what's happening with the Tysley incinerator. It is